Calligraphy is a really lovely way to add a special touch to your wedding stationery, whether it be place names, a table plan, table numbers, or even little tags for your favours. It's a really lovely way to add a personal touch to all of your wedding stationery. It's really easy to get started on basic calligraphy, and there's only a few items that you need. You can find everything online, and we've put all the links below the video. So to get started, you'll need some black ink, you'll need some water to clean your pen, you'll need some place cards, you'll need an oblique pen holder, and you'll need a nib. Now that you have everything ready to start your modern calligraphy, I will show you how to prepare the nib. You take a box of matches, you light the match, and then pass your nib through the match 2 to 3 times. This takes off any oils to ensure that you have a really smooth ink flow through your nib. You then need to put the nib into the pen holder. There's a little hole at the end of the pen, and you just slide it in, and it needs to be parallel to the surface that you're working on. Now that your pen's all set up, I'm going to show you how to hold the pen correctly. Hold it against your middle finger, with the rest of your fingers about 1 centimetre away from the tip of the pen. The back of the pen should rest against your hand. You don't want it pointing up because you'll get a lot of snagging on the paper, so just hold it really gently. Keep a really loose grip and make sure that your hand and your arm have enough room so that they can move. It's all about moving the whole of your arm rather than just your fingers, because it will make a much more relaxed and modern stroke. Now that your pen's set up, I'll teach you a few techniques and tips so that you can do your own calligraphy. Calligraphy is all about thick and thin strokes. It's about the pressure that you put on downstrokes and then leaving the pressure on the upstrokes. With these pointed pen nibs, you have 2 little points at the end of them called tines, and this is what creates your thick and thin strokes. When you press down with the pen, the 2 tines separate to create a thick stroke by filling with ink. And when you release pressure, they create a thinner stroke because the ink is not filling such a wide gap. Now you need to dip your nib into the ink. If you dip it just as far as the end of the vent in the middle of the nib, then it'll fill the vent. And if you just tap it on the side, then you'll get rid of any excess ink. You don't want that in there because you don't want it blotting on your paper. Calligraphy is based on just a few simple strokes and shapes, and you'll notice from the alphabet that each letter is made up from just these few techniques. So to create your thin and thick strokes, take your piece of paper, dip your nib, and then press down with a bit of pressure, and you'll notice that the tines separate and you create a nice thick line. In comparison, if I go up, I put no pressure on at all, and you create a really thin line. A really good exercise is just to go down and up, down and up, and you'll get a really good feel for how the thick and thin lines should go. Another good exercise is to join the lines together so that you can start getting the flow between letters. So you've got the thick line going down, thin line going up, thick line going down, thin line going up. As you can see, it's all about the thick and thin lines, so pressure going down, no pressure going up, to create the thick line going down and the thin line going up. There are lots of different exercises that you can do to practice these strokes and shapes. We won't have time to do them all today, so we'll move on to some letters now. When creating your letters, it's all about the proportions, the angles, and the thickness of your lines. I always use this really nice guide sheet to show you the proportions for each letter. You'll see that here there's a little baseline at the end of the X. All of your letters should sit on this baseline. All of your smaller letters should sit inside those 2 middle lines. Your taller ascenders should come up to the top, and your descenders should reach the bottom of these guidelines. If you follow these, everything will be consistent and your writing will look really neat. For example, if we start with the letter A, a small lowercase letter a would sit between these lines, and an uppercase A would still sit on the baseline, but it would reach the top of the ascender line. Now you can see here with each letter, every time I do a downstroke, I put pressure on, and every time I do an upstroke, I release the pressure. For example, with the B, because I'm starting with an upstroke, I've got no pressure on, I bring it down, put pressure on, and then round to create the bottom of the B. everything should be at a bit of an angle. It's up to you to create your own style, but I do everything following this sort of 55-degree angle, which makes it look really stylish. An uppercase V, we start at the top of the ascender line, we put pressure on, take pressure off, and we come round with a little curve at the top, come in, and then come round to finish off the B. A little C, again, will sit in between the two lines in the middle of your guidelines, and a larger C will be very similar, will come to the top of the ascender line. Pressure on as I come down, and lifting the pressure as I come up. So let's get on to making some place cards. I've got some nice white place cards here. You can use any colour, shape, size that you like. Dip your nib, and I tend to start the word quite far to the left so that I can fit it all onto the paper. I'm going to write my own name, but you'll see all the techniques that we've been discussing so far. So every downstroke has pressure, every upstroke releases the pressure, and everything is at a really nice angle. You'll need to keep the spacing between each letter consistent, as that's what makes really stylish looking lettering. So the lowercase letters are all in the middle where your guidelines would be, and your ascenders and descenders come up to the higher lines. So press down on the downstroke, release pressure on the upstroke, and then finish off there.
A massive thank you to Tash for coming along and teaching us how to do calligraphy. She's got some amazing worksheets on her website to download and give it a practice at home and give it a go for your wedding. Thank you so much, Tash. See you all soon.